All right. Hello. That's pretty bad.
Oh my god.
This is really bad.
Shit. What's causing this? Somebody not having a headset?
Maybe Charlotte, is it if you've got, maybe turn down your volume, it's not you. Maybe just, can everyone talk now?
Hello?
Hello? Okay. There's still a bit of echo going on somewhere.
Happening. We can mute one after the other and then check it out. So I will go on mute and then you test it.
That kind of seems okay. Yeah, I think that's a bit better now. I think just everyone make sure your volume is down on your speakers. Yeah. Okay. No one's accidentally clicked studio sound or anything like that, have they? No.
No.
Okay, it seems to settle down now a bit. Actually, we sort of had this before, so seems like it's okay now. All right, who knows? That sounds like it's okay. So, all right, well, let's get going. Someone has two devices connected. It says, oh yeah, no one has two browsers open. Andre, you haven't opened up another browser, or okay, everyone just check you've just got this one open. I think it sounds like it's going okay. So, okay, people are.
He says it's Charlotte based on my investigations.
All right, I think we're okay now. Sounds right to me. So let's go. All right.
Okay, another try. Let's see if it is really you, Charlotte. So hello, welcome everybody to the interactive panel that I'm happy to lead today about TikTok with some very nice people. I'm actually super excited about this, and after I think most of you have already checked out the great content that was going on previously, I'm happy about this the nice little panel here. I think we will learn a lot of things about TikTok. Well, big surprise. But I think we'll also go a bit into the politics about it. We will talk about, campaign strategies, maybe some revelations here and there about demographics. So very much pumped about that. And for the panel here with me, I got some awesome speakers, which I would like to ask for a little round of introduction. First, so I'm Christian, I'm just the host, and I will hand it on for a round of introduction to maybe Charlotte to see if the audio is
all sorted now. Awesome. So hey everyone, I'm Charlotte. I'm the senior digital marketing manager at Depop. I run everything that's paid ads essentially.
Cool. Yeah, whoever feels like. Chris, what about you?
I can jump on. So hi everyone, glad to be back here on App Promotion Summit in a panel discussion. Maybe also first, just quickly a shout out to James and the team for organizing it. I wish we would have been all there in person, but glad to see that we're doing this initiative, and excited to talk a bit about TikTok. Like you mentioned, Christian, I think there's a lot of buzz about the channel.
Yeah.
So short about me, I'm working for a company called Spock. If you're not familiar with Spock, it's a classified app. So it's I would say it's the platform to buy and sell with others, but I think Charlotte on the panel has something to say about it. I've been working with the company since 2015. I'm a marketing manager running online for Spock. And at Spock, we've been running TikTok for a bit over a year. We were one of the early advertisers to try out the beta on the self-serve platform, which is basically, I think, why I'm doing here today.
Nice. What's your
May
next?
I?
Are you Andre?
Yeah. Maybe we tag each other. Yeah, hi, I'm Andre, founder of Admiral Media, a small performance marketing agency based in Spain. We run TikTok ads since, I mean, we are just one and a half years old, but we basically run TikTok ads since, I think, since 1 year or something for multiple clients across the globe, mostly United States and Europe, obviously, wherever it's available. And with very mixed results on their self-serve ad platform. But yeah, I'm happy to share some insights later on in the panel.
Nice. And then let's ask
So,
Kevin.
Kevin, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Kevin Young. I'm the founder of a growth services company headquartered out of the United States. So thanks for letting me join this conference. It's pretty early over here. So what we do, a number of things for clients, like building LTV models, dashboarding. We craft kind of the underlying data models that clients use to understand their business and what their ad dollars are actually driving. But our bread and butter is definitely managed services. So we've been managing buys on TikTok for about a year now, and to your point, very mixed results, I think, across that time. A lot of change over the time, but that's kind of our bread and butter there. Also across a variety of clients on TikTok. And then prior to Headlight, I was a director of growth at a gaming company called Kixeye, where I oversaw UA and CRM and product marketing until we got acquired in mid-2019.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys. Great to have you here. I will go last then very briefly. So I'm Christian, as said before. I'm CEO and co-founder of a company called Customlytics. We are a small team based in Berlin, 20 people. We do all things about mobile marketing, also running ads on TikTok for clients, and very much looking forward to having you all on the panel today. Very sneakily, I've provided a little icebreaker question I've told nobody before, so I will do that. It's a bit sad, like in the physical world, I would probably, I'm a big fan of doing just like little vodka shots in the beginning of a panel as the icebreaker, so we can't do that. Everybody's just sitting here with their own drink. But I have prepared a little icebreaker question instead. So here it goes. And whoever is brave enough can go first. I'm expecting answers from everybody, of course. So if you would have to describe the impact that TikTok had on the marketing world as a marketing channel, as a fruit, which fruit would it be and why? So
I would say it's a Pringle.
Okay.
Because once you pop, you cannot stop, as their marketing phrase goes. In terms of once you start scrolling, you can't quite stop yourself.
Okay, nice. What else you got?
I'm not creative enough, I think.
There, so something small but very tasty. Yeah, a lot of mixed taste.
Like a strawberry or something.
But a special strawberry, yeah, in a cocktail.
A special strawberry that only young people like. Okay, I see. Okay, Kevin, any last?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. So I'm thinking of something that maybe dark chocolate, because it's an acquired taste in a way, and it's sort of changing. Like especially on the creative side of things, like you gotta approach that differently than really any other platform. And also, when it's really dark chocolate, it's hard to consume a lot of it because there is sort of a scaling issue, I feel, broadly, but hard to scale acquired taste.
Plus, you die sooner or later if you do too much. So
yeah,
it's probably also easier for me to compare it to a drink, actually, instead of a fruit. I would probably pick something like gin and tonic or like Young and Fresh instead of good whiskey.
Nice. Okay. So I think to start it off, really, I think there's a ton of topics that we can go through. We only have ever so much time, and we also want to allow for the hence interactive panel. We want to allow for the interactive part in the end. So we don't even have too much time for just us talking. But I will go ahead and I would like to ask you guys, what was your maybe you can just introduce us to your exposure to the platform until this point. What have you done on TikTok? What has been your experiences? How would you sum up your the experience of the last, I don't know, 1 or 2 years? I think nobody's is able to have it longer than that. So yeah, just give an introduction to what you've been doing with TikTok so far.
Should I go first again?
Yeah.
So we've been running here at Depop TikTok for around 18 months now, or maybe even a little bit longer, to be honest with you. We run everything from customer acquisition, awareness, and sort of full funnel activity through TikTok. What I think's been really interesting from TikTok, for us for TikTok, is that we very quickly recognized its creative potential to connect our audience. So for those of you who don't know Depop, we're a marketplace app for fashion. Our core audience is Gen Z, so sort of perfect for TikTok. And what we really found was actually we saw a lot of growth through what we call testimonial content. So it's not polished, it's not particularly finished. It doesn't necessarily look like an ad from a cutting and editing perspective, but it's our community talking about why they love and use Depop. It was really interesting for us. We saw fantastic results off the back of this. And we actually also found that people on TikTok were creating their own versions of our ad using our sound, even screenshotting our end card, which was quite novel and a really fun thing, and also a great way to connect to such a big audience who we hope will love Depop.
Nice. What about the others?
I can jump on a second. So similar to Charlotte, we've been running ads for a bit over a year. We've been focused more on sort of direct response results, so less awareness and more install, but maybe different from Depop. Maybe I have to give a bit of background so you can follow the logic to how Shpock works. But Shpock is like I said, a place to buy and sell, but it's a bit broader marketplace. So you can buy and sell everything from electronics to fashion to cars and property, even if it's not our main focus. And that's why we also have seen some quite mixed results, I would say. So where we had more success, it's more, how should I say, categories or items. It's skew a bit younger, which I think is representative of the platform and the audience on the platform. And yeah, I think there is potential with benefits with this sort of audience. So we see also quite high engagement, quite competitive on CPIs, but we had to work a bit harder to get there on the conversion side. And again, we use it more as a growth channel as of now.
It's interesting that you mentioned the age of the audience. So we also did some analysis around some campaigns of our clients. Okay, maybe as a background information, most of our clients are not gaming clients. So they are mostly addressing, it's mostly subscription apps, first of all. So they really need to make money with the users that we acquire for them, and are highly ROAS-driven apps. And we usually try to target people 25 plus, let's say, for most of our clients. And what we figured is that the biggest argument that we get when I talk to new potential clients or brands that should advertise, from my perspective at least, on a new platform like TikTok, that they say, yeah, but there are only 12-year-old girls, but that's actually not true. If you just look for some hashtags like moms of TikTok or dads of TikTok, parents on TikTok, whatever, they have like 7 billion views or something like that. That's an insane reach. And then we analyzed the reports that we got and figured, okay, like 2/3 of the user base that we address is actually older than 18. And obviously has enough money so that TikTok became very often for many clients like second biggest channel, acquisition channel actually. So that you can certainly target a lot of very young people on TikTok, but there's enough potential out there to reach the paying audience, let's say.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, I'm very much direct response oriented as well. To your point, Chris, and you know, early on the TikTok platform, we had problems with that, I think, and it was you know, there was no deeper CPA product for bidding on, for example, subscriptions. If you were running for a client campaigns for a subscription client, and we were having trouble with kind of an optimization mechanic that was moving through the audience in a way that wasn't just purely cost based. So in the beginning, you know, our game was really, let's try to get the cheapest installs possible, and we'll, you know, because the installs are so cheap and it's open season with CPMs, because no one's really on the platform at that point, you know, in September of last year, for example. So, you know, we were just getting very cheap installs, and downstream conversion was very poor in the apps and things like that, but it didn't matter because the installs were so cheap. And we're really seeing that change. One, to your point, Andre, I feel that the audience changed a lot, especially in the US, when, you know, there was a Super Bowl commercial with TikTok on it, and all of a sudden it's got cultural relevance and is actually, you know, driving, is really a discovery mechanism for most of the top songs in the world right now. And that really shifted the population that we could reach on TikTok. And then at the same time, they're developing kind of deeper products about, you know, down funnel optimization and, you know, optimizing for registration, optimizing for purchase, things like that. So we're seeing just the whole, I'd say the story right now is a lot different than when it started.
Yeah, I agree. I can add to that maybe. So I agree also with Andre. I think there is potential for older audiences. It just for us, TikTok is not Facebook or Google. So it's very hard to compare, like Andre, I think also mentioned with scaling and also competitiveness. So I don't want to go too deep with it, but so for us to drive engagement in something like between parents or in our baby and child category, we could potentially do it on TikTok, I think. But in our tests, it's not been as competitive as a bit more mature or traditional channels. So that's why we tended to skew a bit younger. I think that's also one of the, at least for us, it's been quite good, and the potential for us to reach this kind of audience, because we've been seeing a decline a bit on some other channels, and I think it goes back also to how the usability and how users interact on the channels in general. So if you compare Facebook now to 5 years ago, it's very, very different.
Actually, very interesting insights from Andre already about the demographics, and Chris, in what you just said, you mentioned that TikTok is not Facebook or Twitter. Maybe on that point, and I'm afraid I'm triggering a 1-hour discussion now, but let's see. How do you guys, how are creatives different on TikTok compared to other platforms? Very open, very wide question. Who wants to go first? Andre, you look like you want to go first.
Well, I mean, most apps that we start advertising come with their standard material that they have running on Instagram, Snapchat, whatever. Some are even sending us videos where they say swipe up to get the app or something. I mean, on TikTok, doesn't make sense, right? So we very often have to consult the client a little bit, like, hey, do this a little bit different. But the main learning that I had in the last months was that the best performing creatives that we can get are actually real TikToks. So this is a new part of our business now, that we actually reach out in the name of our clients to content creators on TikTok that create super funny videos for us, and we just use them as performance ads. And we had a case when we advertised something in Germany like 2 weeks ago or something. I think I posted it on LinkedIn as well, and this had a tremendous spike in performance overnight, like 1,000% plus, just because it was a real TikTok and not their standard ad that they created in-house. So if I can give one recommendation, go this way: collect real content and use this as ads. That's definitely one core learning that I have.
Okay.
I can fill into that maybe. So Andre, we were one of those that started just like you said. So what we did is that when we started, we took basically best performance from other channels, right? TikTok is not so strict when it comes to this aspect ratios and the fun design stuff. So if you run ads on Instagram or Snapchat or something like this, you can convert them quite easily. But we got reactions for this kind of things that you just mentioned. So it was a bit of a hiccup for us. So we used like voiceovers like swipe up now, because that's how you download the app on some channels, but obviously not on TikTok. They were quite strict when it comes to like using CTAs. We saw also bumping CTAs. We also got reacted for some ridiculous things, but we talked a bit with our contact, and you got them approved after some complaints. But we saw a similar thing, right? So we saw that, and we looked a bit deeper into what kind of ads worked for us. It was mostly ads featuring sort of people or influencers. So when we did sort of a second round of tests, this is something that we looked a bit deeper to. So we partner up with some influencer networks to create content that we could use for our ads. But of course, this adds costs, and I would also say a bit of complexity. So that's something that we need to keep in mind. But I agree with this recommendation. So I think similar trends.
Maybe one more comment. My feeling was from the experiences that we made was that the algorithm for the performance ads is kind of similar to the organic algorithm. So if you have one hit video, this gets the reach, and tremendous reach. And this, I think, is basically mirroring the experience influencers on TikTok actually have. So you have to. And saturation is maybe also one thing. A performance video is saturated so quickly. You need to iterate. You need to bring new stuff on the platform. One last comment: many brands are trying to force content creators to create following their brand guidelines and whatsoever, and this kills creativity. Which means also performance will die immediately. So from my perspective, just produce a shitload of creatives, let them their freedom, and pick the ones that you feel are good, or maybe not 100% following your brand guidelines, but they are kicking ass on the performance ads in the end. That's my experience.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. One, it's I feel like TikTok is. It can be cheap to get a bunch of influencer types to do, especially if you have an organic following for your product already and people are interested in something. So running a contest or something like this, that acts as a pipeline for content that can be repurposed as creative. I'm also seeing on the TikTok side, like when you really get a creative that resonates with the algorithm, it propels you into a whole different level of spend and performance. And so time and time again over the past year, we've seen the creative is actually one of the biggest levers you can pull in TikTok to get you to that new kind of tier of spend or performance.
Very, very interesting stuff. So I think I have another question. It's maybe more a bit of a follow-up on the introduction, but I would be interested in that if I would be a listener. So there are two very, as you know, there are two very different kind of ways of how to book ads in TikTok. So there's the kind of the self-serve platform, and then there's everything else. Maybe all of you quickly say something about which kind of ads you have been buying already on the platform, and maybe what I'm looking for in this question is really stuff like, hey, we found this or that type of advertising that we bought very different in terms of mechanics or results than the, I don't know, let's say self-serve. So that's something I would be interested in. Maybe Charlotte?
We actually exclusively use the self-serve platform. We haven't done a direct buy with TikTok in terms of a partnership sense yet. I'm a big fan of direct buy. Not so direct buy, I'm a big fan of self-serve personally. It gives you more control. It means you can kind of optimize as you go. You can see those stats and how they are directly impacting your own business. So we've pretty much exclusively used self-serve at the moment, which I think the platform has a little bit of a way to go to reach the sophistication of the Facebooks and the Googles, but it's a pretty new ad platform, and I think that comes with its challenges as they have all been through.
What about the others?
Yeah, My experience is largely the same. I am using primarily the self-serve one. It's really just a function of what kind of clients we have. Like our clients are all performance oriented. They wouldn't really want to be willing, and nor would I, to take a big risk on something like a direct buy, even though I think it could be a good fit for, a more brand oriented operation.
Same here. So we also only use the self-serve platform. We experimented a bit with the influencers with link in the bios, but like for all platforms, you need to justify this not on pure performance. You need to look at something like awareness or image creation or sort of brand attributes, because otherwise on pure performance it's not compatible, at least not for us.
Same here. The only thing I don't see so much difference in all the ad products that they're offering, except you buy the first place when someone's opening the app, like the Boost campaign and the good old F-Boost days. But let's say most of the clients or apps that are probably watching the show here are all performance-driven people, I guess. So #challenges. I guess no one in this chat has run this ever.
Okay. Talking about all of us being performance-driven people, how would you, let's kind of moving on to another topic that I think is interesting, which is targeting. So I think it's probably fair to assume that all of you, to some degree have been running campaigns on other big social platforms, let's not call any names, and also other platforms, maybe even in search space or in other spaces. What are the things that you would say are similar when it comes to targeting on TikTok, and what are the things that you are doing differently compared to the other platforms?
So I think from our side, the targeting on TikTok is a much more simplified version than other platforms. I think the main difference there is definitely how we overlap audiences. And how we connect audiences with one another. I think TikTok's tech isn't quite there yet. I would say that's our main difference in terms of how we're using other platforms from an audience perspective versus TikTok.
My experience is that let's say the offering that they have on the self-serve platforms are interests, right? Or audiences that you build from lookalike audiences you build from your custom audiences. And the key finding was that the interests are basically overlapping everywhere. Like someone who's interested in, cars, is maybe interested in technology. So you can't really split this out or something. And you limit the reach tremendously if you try to split this out, and maybe have iOS and Android split, and maybe gender split, and then maybe you want to address a certain age group or something like that, right? It's not Facebook. They don't have the data points to know who's interested in in specific things. They don't have a history of 10 years web browsing or something. So the way to go is actually go broad as possible or try lookalikes. That's basically it.
Yep. Early on, we actually saw a good amount of success with the lookalike product, which I was not expecting, honestly. Audience modeling is usually the last thing to develop fully on a platform, in my experience, and I was pleasantly surprised that we were getting decent results from that. But to Charlotte's point about measuring how these audiences are concentric or not concentric, we have a lot of trouble with that. So we're running lookalikes, we're running demographics, we're running interest, and I'm pretty sure that they're all touching some of the same people, but it's hard for me to figure out, to what degree those audiences are overlapping. So I think that overall our strategy is actually quite broad in general. To your point, Andre.
Okay. You want to go say something, Chris, or?
No, it's basically, I agree, right? So the basics is the same. You can do this age, gender targeting. When it comes to interest, it's like Andre said, you have to trace it back to how they collect this. Yeah. So Facebook is very straightforward. You follow, I don't know, FC Bayern Munich. Facebook knows you like FC Bayern Munich. TikTok, they look at a lot of what kind of content you spend time on. So I'm guessing I am probably classified as a I don't know, female fashion interest or something, because it pops up a lot of a lot of influencers on my page. But so I'm a bit skeptical about the interest data they have in general. That's why we didn't experiment much on it. And similar to other platforms, my experience is that if you're not very niched, you can go broad because you limit yourself a lot with some of the targeting options.
Yeah. Okay. So I think on the operational side, only one last question before we get to the big politics that everybody has been waiting for. So my last question for the two agency guys here would be like, if a client is approaching you and asking for, what's a test budget for a TikTok campaign, what's the rough ballpark figure that you would give them?
$1 million.
Yeah. $1 million.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think there's kind of two things going on there. One is that if TikTok is a very literal algorithm on the front end. So if you have a CPA and you put in a CPA in a campaign, and even if your budget's pretty high, like that campaign won't spend, and super cautious in general. So if it's gated by a performance metric, I would encourage clients to be aggressive on that front. We have if the budget is $3,000 to $5,000 on the ad group, and your CPA is this, like, it's not going to miss that by that much. It's just not going to spend. On the other side of that, if you want to spend very little, I would just make sure that you're choosing an optimization event that is frequent enough that a campaign can hit an escape velocity where it makes sense and sustainable and potentially scalable in the future. So, for example, if you want to spend $100 a day, choose something like page views. You're not going to get a successful purchase campaign with $100 a day.
Okay. So moving on to kind of the broader, let's say, political discussion that has evolved around the platform TikTok. So for me, I don't know how you feel about it, but I always feel that it's this weird, time when TikTok, of course, is like the big buzz that everybody's talking about, but at the same time, external factors could lead to, us not being able to do any marketing there in something like a matter of weeks. So I think my big question here is, and I know that it's like very, philosophical almost. What do you think is going to happen to TikTok as a platform? And what's your take on the whole politics? What do you think is going to happen?
From the politics, nothing. I don't believe so. The question is what the new stakeholders are doing in the boards, let's say. But politics-wise, I don't see anything changing in the near future. It's rather a question how much will new competitors pull the audience on their platform, namely Triller or any other Reels, as an example. So I think this is the bigger question from my perspective, at least. I don't know. But maybe short reminder, we have questions from the audience. Maybe we can go through them after that.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, Kevin, you look like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I feel like on at least in the United States, on the political stuff, there's been a lot of posturing. I think that I think that Gen Z would revolt if they got their TikTok taken away. I don't really see. I don't think that's a mortal threat right now to TikTok. I do, but to Andre's point, like if the wrong people are, now in charge of an ads platform, we've seen that, where an elder sort of media giant picks up a younger ads platform and tries to scale it, and it's just doesn't work at all. You know, it's a couple of horror stories come to mind from the past 5 years on that.
Exactly. I mean, we have seen that before. So.
I think what's really lovely about TikTok is that it is so international. I think that really fosters some really great UGC content across boundaries, across lots of different types of divides. And I think the biggest risk really is that if with the US section being sold off and being brought, that there is somehow that kind of degrades in some way, and that would be a real shame to the user experience within TikTok. I think the biggest risk for TikTok right now in terms of that is the fact that this has been a conversation for a month or two now already, if not a little bit longer, and that the biggest risk from a TikTok perspective is that actually they've had all these really great content creators who are essentially taking their followings to other platforms because there is a risk involved with being on TikTok. I think that's the biggest kind of like immediate red flag for TikTok. But I think only time will tell really what happens with that. If people stay on the platform, maybe they can cultivate audiences on other platforms, which will be also super interesting to watch happen. Like TikTok is so new. I think we forget that sometimes. It's so new to the market, and actually there's so many things that will change, and TikTok will have to change with them.
Yeah. All right. So, Chris, you wanted to add something?
No, not really. I think
it's all good. We don't have to.
And let's skip it.
You don't have to. All right. So I think indeed there are a couple of questions from the audience, which is great. So please keep them coming. I will just start with the ones that have the most upvotes, and then we can see how far we get with these. So the first one is from Wolfgang Peters, and he's asking, how often are you adding new ads? At what level of spend? And do you add them to running ad groups, or you create new ad groups?
I can start with this one. It depends a bit on the seasonality, I would say, and how much budget you have in general. So I don't want to talk about how much we're spending, of course. But when it comes to these ad groups, like a tactic we used in the past is to add them to a current ad group, not to lose the history of the ad groups. And this has worked quite well for us. On TikTok, this doesn't really seem to be the case. So I think they're working a lot with relevance scores in the background. We touched upon this before. So I think if an ad group or an ad set had a lower delivery, and even if you put in new creatives there, it seems that it still hinders the delivery. So what we ended up doing is creating basically new ad set when we have new creatives, instead of adding them to the current one, which is different from how we typically operate on other channels.
Yeah, I absolutely have the same experience. It's once an ad group starts to miss on CPA, it's not resurrectable. So you just make a new one. And the other thing that I see on the creative side is that if you're mapping an ad group to say 3 to 5 ads, the distribution of spend among those ads is very unequal. So the algorithm, what I think is happening is the algorithm's looking at the first 1 to 5,000 impressions, making a decision based on primarily click-through rate and interaction rate, and then directing all spend essentially to that creative. So you end up with a situation potentially where one creative's getting all the budget, and option B and C are still great creatives, but they're not getting their chance in spend. So we've actually adopted a one-to-one mapping for the most part, ad group to ad, and we're managing that programmatically. So if we want to run a new ad with a new ad group, we're just creating a new one and keeping CPA and all that stuff the same. So, many ad groups.
What we found really helpful is actually their DCO feature, the dynamic content optimizer, or whatever it fully stands for. We've seen really great success with that, and that kind of gives us the ability, because we have lots of really great creative, but I'm slightly creative agnostic within that as well. Whatever works, I'm happy with. And what we've seen with that is that the system automatically just optimizes towards what is best performing based on what we're telling it to optimize for, which I think is the really important element there. And we've seen fantastic results on that. What we have tried to do is to group different DCOs under different creative themes, so we can still avoid creative fatigue and other things like that, and keep it fairly fresh.
Okay.
I can just say refresh as soon as possible. As what I mentioned with 1000% spike experience was that it kicks in and trickles down very quickly. Like within 3 days, you lose the performance. So as soon as you have something, just upload. And experiment yourself what works for your app. Is it one ad per ad group, or is it multiple, or is it dynamic creative optimization? You really need to experiment with this yourself.
Okay, so I think in order to put in another 1 or 2 questions, we move on to the next one. I think the next one with some upvotes is, I think the base question is, what price do you expect to pay a creator? There's some more explanation to it, which I will happily go through as well. I've been told it's cheaper than other platforms. We are an agency for smaller business that are mainly home improvement installers. We've never used influencers before and wonder if they are worth it for our clients. So, experience with that?
From to. Really depends. Certainly also depends a little bit on what product you're trying to sell them. Like, you have to sell your product to the influencer, right? So this also plays a role. But let's say we are reaching out to content creators that have as little as 1,000 followers, something like that, and you get them for $50, $100, or maybe just a free item that you ship to them, that they can just keep for themselves. And then there's creators that have 2 million followers and 500,000 views on every video. Then you easily are connected with a talent manager. And then you pay up to whatever. So there's really a big range, actually. But yes, I agree, it's cheaper than Instagram.
Are you guys working with, maybe a question for the panel myself, with the creators marketplace platform that TikTok has? So I don't have much experience of it myself, but I know that's a feature that TikTok has that's a bit sort of unique and neat, which is, it's basically a platform. I think it's out of beta now, so anyone can basically use it. But in there, you can find users on the platform, and you can find users that relate to your brand, right? And you can contact them directly. You typically have to negotiate them also with them directly. Yeah. You can negotiate your own prices. So you can get cheap ones, but like Anders said, you can also get the talent scout prices.
Yeah, I think that's the difference between, and this I guess relates to the original question because it pertains to price. But compared with Instagram, like I feel like there's a very concentrated tail of high impact influencers, and TikTok, the supply of influencers is much more long tail, and also it's searchable because of this platform. So you can find someone like, say, you have you're selling like a wedding product, and there's a like a wedding planner type account that's got a lot of followers. Like, you can uncover little stones like that in TikTok, and that's kind of unique to the platform. And I think it's a super powerful tool. And also, those creators are cheaper because they're specific and they're resonant with your product, and they don't have these kind of macro followings. Because you're paying anywhere from, they're doing it for free because they get a free product, to hundreds of thousands of dollars per post on TikTok.
You got to pay attention for fake views and fake followers, but it applies to any platform. Yeah. I bought, I think, 10,000 views for 99 cents. Wanted to know how it is.
So let me see, what else do we got? Maybe a question from, okay, so that one has 2 upvotes as well. Okay, next question from the audience. Do you guys think the rise in CPV price we're seeing in Spain is due to it being Q4, or is it a general trend as more actors arrive to TikTok for business?
CPV meaning cost per view.
Yeah, but I think it depends a bit on the sort of vertical, right? I mean, in e-commerce, there's a seasonality trend leading up to Black Friday. I think this year is also a bit special because of the whole crisis. There was a lot of brand spend that went out from not just TikTok. It was a general trend. I think everyone saw that's buying inventory, right? The CPMs dropped quite significantly during the lockdowns, at least in Europe and the countries we are advertising. And I think they are starting to come back, but they're coming back now. I've seen a similar trend. I think I have a feeling that the CPMs are rising a bit too fast this year compared to last year. But I think it will, at least in where I am in e-commerce, will peak around Black Friday.
Okay, so this one we kind of already got answered in the panel before. Nice one on the, yeah, let's do this one. If tomorrow TikTok isn't available in the US, what would be your choice for other countries to concentrate your marketing efforts? As in, as I understand it, not other platforms, but other countries that are popular with TikTok.
For me, it's easy because we're not in the US, so.
Yeah, I mean, so I can talk, we're seeing strong performance out of Canada, Australia, which would be they're kind of like analogs, I guess, to the United States in a lot of ways. And we see the CPMs are pretty similar. And the scale is there, and the self-serve platform is live in both those countries. So that's what I would do. If I had to stay on TikTok, the platform. That is.
Yeah, that's hard to answer also. Like, I mean, there's not really a country that mimics the United States in size and buying power, let's say. So it certainly depends a little bit on the product that you're advertising. But if you talk to advertisers that are strong in the Arabic countries, for example, then probably they just push more money in there because you have a lot of buying power in there and high activity on the platform. I mean, obviously, if you compare Europe to the United States, then just any available country in Europe is certainly a replacement, but nothing replaces the US, right? You certainly try to put the spend on another platform instead.
Okay. Kind of going back to the question we talked about before with targeting. I think that's another interesting one probably. So the question goes, how specific is targeting on ads? Is it similar to Facebook? And then kind of add on to that, how important are hashtags?
I think we covered that in the beginning or sometime earlier. It's interest targeting, gender, demographics. I think the one unique thing was price of devices, like Android devices are at least $700 or something like that, right? But basically, the whole dashboard looks like Facebook for me. But what you have to take into consideration is that interests are not as good as Facebook's interest. I think that's the main what do you say, main point to pay attention on, yeah.
Okay. I think then there's one more that has to do with frequency of ads, probably also an interesting one. So question from the audience goes, as a consumer, I see the same creative for the same ad over and over, sometimes more than 20 times on the same platform. As a marketer, this is frustrating to see. Is there a cap you set so that one creative is only shown to a consumer 3 to 5 times and then switches to a new?
I wish.
Yeah, right. Same problem.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong now, but I think they don't even report frequency in the platform itself.
Right.
So this is also different from other platforms, and you don't really have control over it. So especially if you go very, very specific in your targeting, this is more likely to happen than if you go broad. But as a buyer, you can't really control it.
I guess the only way to do that would literally have like a creative per campaign. It'd be a little bit of a nightmare to manage, you know, like it's not realistic. I think it's something that it's not only a problem on TikTok, but lots of other platforms as well.
Right.
It'd be a great innovation for them to put in place.
Yeah. Same problem here. I mean, if we could had insight into frequency, you could attack that manually, right? But I'm really having this is definitely a point of that I'm trying to solve and don't really have a great solution. I also think that, you know, on the delivery side and the algorithm side for TikTok, this is a work in progress. I don't know, anecdotally, I feel like the amount of ads I'm getting is fluctuating quite a bit. So I have to imagine they're playing with like deduping, you know, ads that are delivered by either product or destination page or at the account level or something like this, the way that Facebook does. Like it's pretty hard to be annoyed by one specific ad on Facebook these days. And I think that TikTok, given that their UI is basically Facebook itself, the ads manager, I think that they're, obviously trying to replicate some of the best elements of Facebook as best they can with the user graph they have.
Okay. I think there's one more question that is going back to something that you, Kevin, said earlier. So maybe a good one for you to take. I will summarize it a bit. So the short summary is, if an ad group has gotten to the point where it's not spending anymore from one day to the other, is there any way to recover it? Is there any fix that you can apply to bring it back, or is there beyond salvation?
Yeah, abandon ship. Don't even bother. Make a new one. Yeah, just honestly, just duplicate the same one. When you're duplicating at the ad group level in the UI, you can actually make like 5 copies of something very easily. And if you've got an API set up, you could do it, very in mass quantity, which that's what I would do. Yeah, don't bother trying to resurrect it. It's done.
Okay. And then I guess probably the final question from the audience, unless more is coming in. One that I've been actually asking myself as well. So the question goes, how do you find decent tracks in the commercial music library? Any hints?
Define decent. I guess the question is more like, how do you find music, or how do you find good music?
Yeah, I think that's the best.
But there's this smart audio. So when you go to, I can't remember, when you go to creative and say upload creative, then there's an option like smart video, what's it called? Smart audio creative or something like that. And when you upload your video and it has no music, they give you a suggestion from their library. And then you have to pick just a few songs yourself. And then it automatically creates a bunch of videos with different background music.
Short, you look like you wanted to say something.
To be honest, I don't have any experience with it because we actually create our own tracks. Yeah, it's something which, I appreciate not everyone can do that. If you can do it, I thoroughly advise that you do it. I noticed that lots of other e-commerce platforms are doing it, especially ASOS, who created their own kind of branded track at the moment. I think it just makes you stand out a little bit. Users also get used to not only your visual identity, but your audio identity as well, which I think is important on video platforms. So yeah, sorry, I can't help with that one too much.
And I saw +1 from Chris on the self-production.
Yeah, we do the same thing. So we typically use the same sort of audio and voiceover across channels. And we typically combine it to some offline activities as well, just to have this recall and awareness association, right? As soon as you see the ad, you should have a familiarity that it's coming from Spock.
Very good. So I see James making an appearance here, which probably means that the party is over.
Yeah, I'm sure we could carry on. There's still questions coming in, and what I suggest, if anyone's feeling, the good thing about this crowdcast, if anyone's feeling generous, they can leave some more comments in the chat, even after we finish the video, to type any last questions. And I guess this is a topic that will go on and on. It's very early days with this platform, and hopefully we'll get even deeper into it next time. And I want to say really thanks to you, Christian, for hosting the panel and preparing all the questions. And of course, thanks to our wonderful panelists for taking part. Really appreciate it. And it was a great range of perspectives from all different markets and types of companies. So really appreciate you taking part today. And thanks everyone for joining. Great.
It was a pleasure. Ahoy.
Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
We've got a guy from the Guinness World of Records next up, talking about how they grew their channel. So that should be good. So see you shortly. All right. Thanks again, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Have a good one. Bye-bye. It was a pleasure.